Wowza.
So, yeah, there's all that. So, yeah, I mean, thoughts, Weston? Thoughts, feelings, concerns, prayer requests?
The Giulio Cesare phenomenon is always so interesting to me because I feel like, we've grown up, I think, in a world of the great Baroque revival. And Beverly Sills had a really, I think, key role in kind of kicking it off, even though she didn't do a lot with like period instruments or that sort of thing. But the popularity of her Giulio Cesare and the way she just absolutely nails it is, I think, deserves a lot of the credit for the quality of Baroque music we now enjoy here in the 21st century, which is a weird sentence to say.
No, I think you're totally right about that, though, because, yeah, I mean, when she first kind of came onto the scene, bringing down houses with this piece, it wasn't as widely done as it is now.
Exactly.
So now we have a lot of young singers that, have grown up on these recordings, or at least in their conservatory lives, and have sort of taken bits and pieces of her ornamentation and make them sound incredible, but she didn't have that. She didn't have a YouTube. She didn't have recordings to listen. She was doing this all on her own. And it was, again, kind of harkens back to something I'll talk about in a second. Her ability to grow as an improviser on stage was something that was really interesting. But yeah, so there's all that. So yeah, clearly she's all right. She can sing. She
can sing. What else can she do?
The thing is, her musicianship is only a fraction of what made her an absolute star of her time. Her cover in 1971 of Time magazine, that was, the American opera queen. She was keenly aware of what it took to bring opera and classical music to the masses. And the great thing about her was she had the personality to really sell those things and reach that. She understood not everybody, like I mentioned before, was going to be able to get to a city with an opera house. So what she did is she toured the country extensively to college towns, smaller towns, with recitals. There was a really charming thing that she did where she only had one voice teacher ever in her entire life.
Really?
Yes. Her voice teacher's name was Estelle Liebling, and Estelle had taught her a Portuguese folk song when she was 10, and she past tense closed every single recital she did with this song. And it was actually the very last piece that she sang on stage in her farewell concert. It is, we might have to link that on our website. It is just a tear jerker of a piece.
We'll put it on the website for you.
Absolutely amazing. So she, again, she's one of the first people to like take things to the masses, take it to where they are, and not expect people to come to her. With this personality, then she started to harness the talk show circuit as she was really becoming famous in the 60s and 70s. So girlfriends on Johnny Carson, Dick Cavett, Merv Griffin, Dinah Shore, and then Weston, she was so good at talk shows that they gave her one for 2 years, and she got an Emmy for it.
Amazing.
Yes, Lifestyles with Beverly Sills. I believe we have guys, you've got to hear the theme song for this.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's so good.
Here we go.
Hello, I'm Beverly Sills, and welcome to Lifestyle.
May I just say, that is the platonic ideal of 70s talk show music right there.
I want that music to follow me everywhere. As soon as I leave my house in the morning, I just want that to be playing as like my underbacking as I move on throughout my day. I want to be in like a cream-colored silk blouse with like air-blown hair. Oh my God, everything about it is so good. So yeah, so she went on talk shows and became famous for that. She was making the rounds as a recitalist. She finally gained international acclaim with Giulio Cesare. She's doing all this really cool stuff. And then finally, the place where I found her the most accessible was on the Muppet Show.
It all comes back to the Muppet Show. I say this every episode.
It always comes back to the Muppet Show. So in 1979, she did an appearance there. It's episode number 409. The segment is called Pigoletto, but it actually goes through a couple of different pieces, and I'm sure you will recognize them as you're going through this. So just picture like the grande dame of opera at the pinnacle of her career. She's in a fabulous white gown. She's in a sea of felt pig puppets, and then she does this.
This is the only opera that I know. I burn is good. We learn the words in French, and even still, I don't know what it
I wasn't expecting the Wagner in that, and I absolutely love it.
I mean, and here's the thing, though, is that, like, it would have been so easy for her to just kind of, like, phone it in and and just be not taking it particularly seriously. She sounds incredible in that clip. Not to put too fine a point on it, but she goes whole hog as she does her duet with
Like Miss Piggy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing that was so fascinating. I mean, and just imagine, like, 7-year-old Ashley just, eyes as big as saucepans, just like,
Glued to
who
the
is this
TV.
woman? She sounds like my grandma. No one else has sounded like this. And then cut to 20 some odd years later, and I'm like weeping at a Harold Washington Library, remembering my grandma and this moment. And she's everything. She's fantastic. So yeah, she's got this incredible talent. By the way, if you were going through the trajectory of those operas, you heard Traviata, you heard Carmen, you heard Aida and Valkyrie, and if we had kept going, you would have actually gotten to the Pigoletto section. So the other thing I really liked about her is that she's going her own way. She didn't sing at the Met until she was 40 in 1975.
Really?
Yeah. Rudolph Bing apparently wouldn't have her, but I mean, clearly she didn't need him. She was
Classic
famous.
Bing, am I right?
Classic
No,
Bing.
but seriously.
It really is classic Bing.
It is said, like, by the time she finally premiered at the Met, the phrase that people would use is she wasn't premiering at the Met. The Met was premiering with her. So that traditional hallmark of success wasn't a thing that she needed. She just did it her own way. And then she ends up retiring from singing in 1980, kind of still in a relatively strong point in her career. She wanted to remember her voice at its strongest point, which I think is actually a really lovely thing. She did it with Grace and Class. There's a gorgeous farewell concert that, again, has that Portuguese folk song in it. And then she took over as the manager of New York City Opera. Fun fact about that, she auditioned for New York City Opera 7 times before they hired her.
Really?
7 times. They finally hired her in 1955. Nobody knew at the time when she took over New York City Opera after she'd retired how dire the straits were. They were actually in a lot of financial trouble, and she took them from deeply in debt, knowing absolutely nothing about how to run a company, to thriving in just under 6 seasons. Singers felt safe to go there and take risks because, again, this was a place that didn't have a great budget. They were very hardscrabble. And again, it allowed for all of this great improvisation and thriftiness and craftiness when it came to making the art happen. And because she had been such a thrifty, crafty, and giving singer in her career, the entire industry owed her a favor. So when she became the boss, she cashed in on all of those, and she absolutely won big. She moves on after that. She chairs the Lincoln Center. She does eventually chair at the Met, which I think is hilarious. And then she champions charities like the March of Dimes. She even married, and she had a family. One of the challenges she faced was that both of her children were born with disabilities. She took them on the road with her, despite all of these challenges that they had. Her daughter was born deaf. And so,
oh, really?
Yeah. And they had a very, they had a couple of challenging points in their relationship, but on the whole, they really had a very, very healthy relationship as her daughter Muffy moved into adulthood. And through all of this, she rallies, she does it all on her own terms, and she sounded better than everybody else while doing it. There were so many companies that weren't interested in her.
Kind of the reason that she's worthy for induction to the Hall of Fame is that she had 2 distinct careers. She had her singing career, and then she had a whole, almost 40 years after that in which she dedicated to not just advancing the art form, but really, I mean, you're talking about March of Dimes. Her whole mission once she retired from singing, quote unquote, was to advance humanity. And that's why I think Beverly Sills is overdue
Overdue
for this
Agreed.
induction.